Hi folks, it's Karen Lohop again. Um, it would be so helpful to me if somebody would write a comment and say, this will end soon. But what I'm talking about is I feel like I should be far enough on the learning curve here with creating a video and uploading it and so forth that I wouldn't lose it somehow and not be able to figure out how that works. But so far I don't think I've just created a video and had everything be fine. I'd really like to do that. What I'm doing now then is re-recording my decision to share with you a little bit about my mindset experience online. And then in subsequent videos to share with you the my use of the major definite purpose, the major chief aim, and self-confidence formula. And if you're not acquainted with what those are from, it's from Think and Grow Rich, the book by Napoleon Hill that was published in, I think, 1937, 1938. That so many, almost every successful person refers back to, if not directly, then through another book or another person who refers back to Think and Grow Rich. So the purpose right now is to talk with you just a little bit about mindset. If you've been online very long, you are aware that the majority of people who are successful and who share themselves personally with you will say to you that mindset's the number one thing that you need to succeed online. And I can tell you from my own experience, and then from seeing comments and questions and hearing on conference calls and so forth what people say, it is so common for us to get online for whatever reason and want to make money and want to skip that or want to believe that we are fine, that our mindset is great when we start. And the more that you pay attention to how some people who have really, really succeeded, even some amazingly there might be that have succeeded beyond what you can imagine at this point in time, they recognize that they're still talking about the things that they do every day for mindset. Think about it like this. Our subconscious governs so much of what happens to keep us alive, to keep us breathing, keep us safe on the road. There's just lots of things. I'm sure I don't need to go into detail with that with you. Or if I do, take the time to find out a little bit about your subconscious and find out how much of your life is run by your subconscious. And it might be a fun, no, I think for most people this would not be all that fun, but it might be revealing to write down your last couple years in terms of your successes and your failures, and that would have to do with not just your making money ventures, but your relationships and your attempts to lose weight or any of those things, and realize that you probably don't have as much control over your life as you think that you do, as you hope that you could count on and expect to. The nice thing about that is that there is a solution, and I feel like for a great majority of people, the solution happens to be to read and study, and I highly recommend doing that with a mindset group, the book Think and Grow Rich. Now, when I say it's important to use a mindset group, the idea of a mindset or excuse me, a mastermind, I apologize, mastermind group, is that you have others of like minds who are pitching in and sharing their experiences, exposing their struggles and what's working for them, what they've learned that has benefited them that they never thought that they would need to know or accept. Um, Even if you just do it with one other person, if you've heard of the idea of an accountability partner, which I think is a great idea from the very beginning, and I can tell you it's a term I've heard only recently. And in fact, I think I'm doing this whole thing because this morning when I was masterminding with my invisible counselors, which I'll tell you about right before I get off, um, I got the idea. I had been thinking about getting an accountability partner and wondering if I could hold up my end. And I got the idea that the two of us could talk in the morning. She's in Washington, Central Washington State. I'm in Arizona. We could talk in the morning about the ideas that we had for the things that we wanted to be sure and get done for the day, counsel each other a little bit as to whether or not we kind of possibly bitten off more than we could chew, set that intention, and then get back together in the evening and just, let each other know how we had done. And I'm sure that you can imagine that if you do that with someone, you will make, in many cases, a greater effort to stay on task, to stay focused. That is exceptionally difficult on the web for most of us. We get pulled this way and that every time that we look at our email, every time that we look at Facebook, every time that we look at new sites. And so there are several ways that you can use masterminding to help you, but definitely in going through a book that is more comparable probably to the Bible than to a modern day read, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, even if it's about success. This is a book that has so much depth to it that there are people who've been studying it for 50 years. And I can recognize why that would be the case. I've actually read it, and I've had something that was called the Think and Grow Rich Action Pack years ago. But because I did these things by myself, I shrugged off probably the very things that I needed to pay most close attention to. I'm going to, on the blog post, invite you again to the Think and Grow Rich call, because that allows you a mastermind right there. You can replay it if you're not available when it's live. If you're on it when it's live, you can participate in the mastermind, and you can begin, whether you do or not, to feel more closely allied with people who are striving to accomplish the same kinds of things that you are. Now, I mentioned that I would tell you a little bit about invisible counselors. I'm mentioning this because it's really not in part and parcel with the other stuff that everyone talks about. But again, for me, I'm sharing with you what works for me, what helps me, what encourages me, what keeps me going. One of the things that Napoleon Hill did, and just a little background, he was commissioned by Andrew Carnegie, who at the time was the richest man in the world. And Napoleon Hill was a young reporter who had gone to interview Andrew Carnegie, and Andrew Carnegie was so impressed with him, he said, I'm going to offer you something, and you may not want to accept it, but if you accept it, it's going to take you 20 years to accomplish, and you will be doing that with no money doing what you're doing to help you. And he asked him to make a study of the wealthiest men, of the wealthiest people alive at that time. And because Andrew Carnegie knew those people, he gave him a letter of recommendation to do that with each of those people. And Napoleon Hill, I believe, interviewed 500 successful people, and he also interviewed 2,500, which would be 5 times as many people who were not successful, before putting together the book that is a success Bible for so many people. But I believe he came up with this idea on his own. I don't recall that he said it was somebody's idea that he adopted. And that was, before he went to bed at night, or went to sleep at night, he would lie down on his bed and close his eyes and picture in his mind sitting at a conference table where he was at the head, and he selected 12 or 13 other individuals to start with. And they were people like Abraham Lincoln, they were people like Napoleon, they were people like Thomas Edison and Henry Ford, and just many people that you would know, that you have read about in history. Because those people have been dead a long time for you and I mean, we never knew them. It's easy to assume that all of those people were dead that he chose, but they weren't. Some of them were alive. Edison was alive. Ford was alive. And I mention this because I'm aware I'm not the only person who, in going over this material in the book, missed that. In fact, missed it 2 or 3 or more times. And I find it interesting that essentially, if you're going to put together something similar in the way of what he called invisible counselors, because they obviously weren't on his bed with him, they weren't in his bedroom with him, this was in his mind. And what he did is he sought people who had characteristics that he desired. And he invited them in, and he asked them to contribute and the qualities that he was seeking from them. And it became very real to him over time. And I will tell you that that was something that I wanted to copy. And I have, and it's become real to me too, in the sense that I get ideas that I feel are not ideas that were like ideas that I had received before or at other times that I just assumed were my ideas. And so if you're looking for something else to add as an ingredient to what you can do to be more successful, I hope that you'll follow me on this series. It'll probably be 5, 6, 7 more videotapes and blog posts than this. And I really do hope that you will comment and share your own experiences, or just your own feeling about what it is that we're covering. And talk to you on the next video. Bye.